Okay, so today we are diving deep into something we've all struggled with: procrastination. We're going to get to the bottom of what's really happening when we put things off. And let me tell you, the answer is probably not what you think it is. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've got that huge report due, a massive project blooming, but suddenly alphabetizing the spices in your kitchen feels like the most urgent task in the world. Yeah, you're not alone. Not by a long shot. For the longest time, the story we've been told and the story we've told ourselves is that this is just a character flaw. It's a sign of laziness, right? Or proof that we just need another to-do list app, a better calendar, some kind of time management hack.
But what if I told you that entire way of thinking is just wrong? What if procrastination has almost nothing to do with your ability to manage time and everything to do with your ability to manage your feelings? And this right here, this really shows the huge shift in how we understand this. On the left, you've got the old school view, it's all about poor planning. But look at the right side, the modern scientific view. It points to something way deeper. It's about trying to avoid negative emotions like stress, boredom, or even just feeling inadequate.
So let's just bust this myth wide open. The big idea we're going to unpack is that procrastination isn't a time management problem. At its core, it's an emotional regulation problem. Here's the official take from psychologists. It's when you deliberately put off a task, even though you know it's gonna come back to bite you. And the driver? It's so simple. It's the need to feel better right now. We're trying to repair our mood in the short term, even if it means sacrificing our future self's peace of mind. To really get this, we have to go inside. We've got to look at what's actually happening in our brains. Because every single time you face a task you don't want to do, there is a literal battle being fought inside your head. And here are the two main players in that battle. On one side, you've got the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's emotional hothead. It's your ancient primal alarm system, and when it senses stress, it just freaks out. And on the other side, that's your prefrontal cortex, the cool-headed CEO, the part that's supposed to be in charge of long-term planning and rational decisions. So this leads to something called an amygdala hijack. When a task makes you feel stressed or anxious, that emotional hothead, the amygdala, completely takes over. It flips the fight or flight switch, bypasses the rational CEO, and basically screams, "Get out of here," even if the danger is just an empty Word document. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Your brain's ancient survival hardware literally cannot tell the difference between a hungry tiger and a term paper. To the amygdala, a threat is a threat, and the response is always the same: run away.
Okay, so we know how our brain gets hijacked, but now let's dig into the why. What are the specific feelings that are actually kicking off this whole cycle of avoidance in the first place?
Well, it turns out these triggers really fall into two main groups. You've got your high arousal emotions, that intense stuff like anxiety, that deep fear of failure, or perfectionism. But it's not just that. You also have low arousal feelings, like pure mind-numbing boredom, or even just resentment that you have to do this thing at all. Either way, the result is exactly the same: avoidance. And let's talk about perfectionism for a second, because it's such a big one. Think about it. Is the fear that you won't be able to do something perfectly so paralyzing that it's actually stopping you from doing it at all? It's a brutal, self-sabotaging loop.
So are we doomed? Is our brain's wiring just our destiny? No, absolutely not. And this is the good news. Our brains are incredibly adaptable. So let's get into the solutions. Let's talk about how you can actually start to rewire that response and go from avoidance to action.
Just look at this number. In one study where people focused on cognitive strategies, so changing the way they thought about tasks, they cut their procrastination scores by nearly half. That's huge. This isn't just a small tweak. It's proof that we can fundamentally change this behavior. And this chart breaks it down even more, and it tells such a clear story. The bar on the left, that's the power of working on your internal thoughts. The one on the right is what happens when you just use external tools, like calendars. The difference is massive. It shows, without a doubt, that changing your mindset is way more powerful than just organizing your schedule. So, this brings us to the real solution. We have to stop searching for the perfect app or planner. The real work is learning to sit with that uncomfortable feeling for a moment and building the skill of changing our own thoughts. The war on procrastination is an inside job.
All right, theory's great, but let's get super practical. Let's talk about the tools you can actually start using today to manage those emotional triggers and, finally get things done.
First up is a classic for a reason, the Pomodoro technique. It's so simple. You just work in a focused 25-minute sprint. That makes any big task feel way less scary. And that built-in 5-minute break, that's a guaranteed little reward that gives your brain that hit of immediate relief it's craving.
Next, you've got Eat the Frog. This one is all about building psychological momentum. Just identify your single most dreaded task, the one that gives you the most anxiety, and do it first thing. Just get it over with. Once it's done, that cloud of dread is gone, and the feeling of accomplishment can power you through the rest of your day. And this really pulls the whole internal toolkit together. It's about combining all these strategies. You've got challenging those negative thoughts, noticing your feelings without judging them, breaking tasks into tiny, manageable pieces, and maybe most importantly, being kind to yourself when you slip up.
Now, if you only take one single thing away today, please let it be this. We think we need to wait until we feel motivated to start something, but that is completely backwards. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. Just starting, even in the smallest possible way, is the spark that waits the fire.
And I just want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Beating yourself up for procrastinating, it just adds another layer of negative emotion, which ironically makes you want to avoid the task even more. So what if the real first step to breaking the cycle isn't more discipline, but just a little bit of self-forgiveness?